Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to our first Cognigy.AI Tech Update for 2024. I'm new Product Marketing Manager at Cognigy, and I'll be hosting the show today. It's just the beginning of the year, and we've already got tons of product updates we can't wait to share with you. So get ready for a jam-packed session ahead. Our product experts from multiple domains will give you an exclusive look into the most exciting highlights across 6 main topics Cognigy has been working hard on. But before we get into all the product goodness, a few notes on the webinar logistics. You are in listen-only mode, but we value your input. So please use the Q&A panel to submit your questions. If we can't get to you today, don't worry, you will hear from us within a few days. You will also receive a link to the webinar recording afterward. With that said, I'd like to kickstart our tech update with an exciting announcement from our end. The latest generation of Cognigy WebChat is now available for preview. This is a major leap forward in terms of user experience and product functionality. As you can see here, it introduces a refreshingly sleek and modern design. But that's not all. It also comes with much greater customizability and a host of new built-in features to enable a richer conversational experience with less setup time. Please note that the new WebChat is still in preview, which means some bigger improvements are still underway in the next couple of weeks. We'll have a detailed walkthrough of the new WebChat later in the tech update, so stay tuned. Besides the new WebChat, we also worked on various other product topics, releasing a total of 64 product updates, including 19 new features and 45 other improvements. These updates span across voice, insights, generative AI, knowledge AI, as well as AI Copilot, and today you will get a comprehensive look into all of them. Are you excited? Because I am. Let's get started. First off is our voice and AI Copilot updates. Dilek, product manager at Cognigy, will show you how to leverage real-time translation to bridge the language gap, design hyper-realistic voice interactions with our new speech integrations, and optimize workflows with call failover. She will also dive into important improvements for knowledge AI and AI Copilot, as well as the new Salesforce and Genesis open messaging integrations. Over to you, Dilek.
Thanks, New. Hi, everyone. I'm Dilek, Product Manager for Voice Gateway, Live Agent, AI Copilot, and the integration to contact centers. And as New already mentioned, today we're going to talk about Voice Gateway and AI Copilot. So let's quickly jump into our Voice Gateway portal, go into applications, because right now we're going to talk about something we have mentioned in the last update as well, which is basically the fallbacks that we have within the product. This quarter, we have added a new one, which basically does a transfer in case Voice Gateway cannot reach Cognigy.AI. So there's a new section here that says perform a fallback transfer if webhook connection fails. To configure this, you basically select if you want to do a dial or a refer. So if it's a dial, Voice Gateway will still be in the call, and if it's a refer, we're completely handing over to the contact center or the defined target. And in here, we actually just have one mandatory field that is the target, because at the end, we should know where we need to transfer the call to. If we go up a little bit to our speech providers, we actually have added DeepGram and 11 Labs. And for that, let me get into my flow and actually call my speech provider flow so you can hear how DeepGram and 11 Labs sound like.
Hello Q1 Tech Update webinar participants. We will now go through the new speech providers we have added to our platform.
Hi everyone, this is DeepGram Aura, one of the providers that offer a human-like voice for your use cases.
DeepGram offers multiple voices with different English accents.
And here we are with our second integration, 11 Labs.
11 Labs provides human-like voices in multiple languages, depending on the speech model you choose. For the best experience, we recommend the Turbo V2 model.
So, as you just heard, DeepGram and 11 Labs actually have some really great human-like voices. When it comes to DeepGram, they currently only support English, but they have 3 different accents, so it can either be United States, United Kingdom, or Irish. And depending on which of the accents you choose, you have a long list of voices. Then if we go to 11 Labs, it's a tiny bit more different. They have multiple models. So they have their multilingual model, which includes around 29 voices, actually 29 languages, I'm so sorry. Then they have their English model, which of course is in English. Then the last one is their Turbo V2 model, which we definitely recommend as latency-wise. This is the best model they have, but currently this only supports English, and they have announced that they will actually support more languages soon. When it comes to the voices, they actually have a long list of voices. And what's really cool about them is the way that they're describing their voices. So you can see if it's like American, Irish, British, and also the way that they're speaking. So if it's more of a narration, something like video games, ASMR, or more like an audiobook style. The special thing about 11 Labs is actually the way that we did our integration. So usually speech providers get the entire text, then do the audio generation of this entire text. When it comes to 11 Labs, we have our streaming integration, and within streaming, you basically split up the text into chunks and already start the generation of that chunk. That basically helps, especially 11 Labs, to have a faster latency. Then, of course, it might be that due to your company, due to your policies, you're more bound to a specific provider, but still want to achieve a human-like experience. What you can do is actually something that we have added into our voice gateway endpoint within the generic settings, because in there we now have our prosody settings. You might have heard prosody before, especially when using SSML tags, because what prosody enables is to change the speed, the pitch, and the volume of the output. If you do this with SSML tags within the nodes, you can totally do that. But when it comes to prosody, you do need to change this for every single say node and for every single question node. This is quite a lot of work. That's why we have added it into the endpoint. So there are more generic settings that will then apply for the entire flow. They can still be overwritten if you add anything within the flow, in case you would like to have that. A good example would be Microsoft's German voices. Sometimes they're just a little bit too slow, but you can just put the speed up to 120%, and then this will sound a bit more human-like than before. And since we're here in the generic settings, there's actually one more feature that we have added, and that is show best transcripts only. So for the speech providers, usually if they get back with the transcript, they have like the best transcript, alternatives, and it's usually like a really big list, and it makes it difficult to go through it if you use the interaction panel or if you go through the transcripts in general. So in case you only want to see the best transcript, you can enable this in the voice gateway endpoint. Since we are in the voice gateway endpoint, we can directly jump in into our next feature. Around a month ago, we have actually published a video where we show voice to chat to voice real-time translation. Basically, the handover that we do is to the contact center is not a normal voice handover, but the customer is on the phone. We hand over to a contact center agent that is actually chatting. In between, we have real-time translation because it may happen that you do not have enough people in your contact center that speak a specific language. Even it might be that you do not have anyone speaking a specific language. And for all accessibility reasons and ensuring that you can always provide a good customer experience and customer service, we have added the handover settings into our voice gateway endpoint. In here, we have all the handover provider that you can use during a digital handover. So we have our Live Agent, RingCentral Engage, Salesforce, Genesis, and 8x8. What we then do within the flow is that we start with a set session config. In here, in the recognizer, we actually enable the recognition of the language. We add 3 alternative languages. Then we have a question node that basically just asks to talk about the call reason and the preferred language. Once we identify the language, we basically have a lookup node to look up the language code. And depending on the language code, this is how we continue. We continue the flow we change the synthesizer and also the recognizer to the specific language, and then we set our real-time translation. In this use case, it's from Turkish to English. So the customer will talk in Turkish, it will be recognized, the customer will get all of the outputs in Turkish, but the contact center agent will receive everything translated in English. To do the handover, as it's a digital handover in this case, we can just use the handover to agent node as we usually do. Let me quickly check if, yes, I am in Genesis, so let me change the flow in my endpoint. And let's give it a call.
Please tell me your call reason in the language you prefer.
Merhaba, size birkaç sorum olacaktı.
Şimdi sizi bir temsilciye bağlıyorum. Merhaba.
Merhaba, bugün nasılsınız?
İyi, sana nasıl yardımcı olabilirim?
Bugün hangi gün?
Perşembe.
Teşekkürler, iyi akşamlar. Okay, so let's quickly go through what happened. We have recognized the language. Then I was actually speaking in Turkish. The agent was typing in English. So even though I said hello, I heard it in Turkish. When I said hello, how are you today in Turkish, the agent received this in English. So this is basically the back and forth we can go through while having the real-time translation to basically enable accessibility, ensure we can power agents that do not speak a language to actually use a language they are not maybe too comfortable with. Something you will see in the video that we have launched a month ago is that you actually do not hear a lot of latency in here. Of course, in cases like this, you will always have a bit of latency. We have a lot of things that are LLM generated. We have our real-time translation. We have the recognition of the language. So all of this causes latency. In the video you will see, you will actually not realize that there is any latency because you will see a few features, things like atmosphere sounds and silent overlay, that make this entire experience, it just brings it on another level. So as I really like to spoil a few things, make sure to check our next 2 releases, because that is something that we're releasing to make sure that all of this can happen without any latency or without any visible latency. Then, since we also have Copilot here on the right side, we can directly jump into Copilot, because actually one of the features we've added, it's just something small, but it just makes the agent's life a little bit easier, is the next best action. For the next best action and also for the knowledge assist, we have now added a copy button because it's a bit cumbersome for the agent to go in here, copy it manually to select all of it. So they can basically now just click on the copy button and paste everything into the reply box. As you can also see, the next best action and the knowledge assist under each other, there is also another new feature we have added. And for that, let me actually go to one of my flows so I can show you this. So our next action assist tile now has a new drop-down, and in the drop-down you can select if you want your output to be a text or if it should be knowledge assist. If it's a text, you could basically either hard code your output, you can add something LLM generated as a suggested reply. If it's knowledge assist, you basically choose your knowledge store that you would like to have your output from. The main difference we have between the knowledge tile and the next action tile is that for the knowledge tile, the agent actually needs to go in, and has some manual effort, because at the end, if we have a look at it, the agent would need to go in here and write his question to search through the knowledge base. When it comes to the next action tile, that's a good part. He will directly receive all of the information without having this manual step. As once we go through the flow, we are basically executing the flow and also executing this node. So what we're doing once we're executing this is we directly start the knowledge search, we extract the answer, and we output it to the agent. So this basically reduces the effort to actually go in and search manually. Then let me actually do another handover to a live agent, show you one more cool feature that we have added. So let me quickly interact. Hello. So we actually have a few things. Let's start with, let me close this part and open this part. So the first feature is actually just more of a UI element, and it just makes life a little bit easier. So we already were able to collapse the inbox overview with our button, and now we have added a little arrow in here. So you can also collapse the conversation overview to basically just have more space for Copilot, also more space for your text, or like the entire chat transcript. If you now open more details, you will still have enough space for Copilot, and the chat part will just get a little bit smaller, not too small though, so you can still see the transcription and all of the files that the customer would upload. Then, as you may have noticed, we do have a little bit of change here in the background of our Copilot workspace, but don't worry, your Copilot workspaces will not look blue. This is something you can now configure, and let me just get to the flow. In our set grid node, we now have two options to select your background. So you can either say you want to have a solid background color, and then you just add your background color in RGB or in hex. Or if you, of course, want to go more for your corporate identity style, maybe add your logo or something like that, you can also select custom image and then add your image URL to have this as your background. Then I'm actually almost done. I only have one last topic left, and for that we will get back to our endpoints and to handover settings. So we did add two more things. The first one is we now have a Salesforce integration to embed the Copilot workspace into Salesforce. We did a lot of research what the best way is to actually embed it in Salesforce, and wrote a detailed documentation how you can modify, how you can embed an iframe within Salesforce. So go check that out. Then we did the same for the Genesis Cloud Open Messaging. I hope as you remember, last year we have added a second handover provider for Genesis, as the guest chat API is at one point going to be deprecated. They're currently not developing this anymore. So it's also our recommendation to move to the Open Messaging API. And once you choose Open Messaging, go to the Copilot part, you will now find the embedding URL. To configure this, you still just need to go create a script. And when you've created a script, you just add this as your iframe source. And the only difference is that here for the foreign session ID, we use the user ID. So within Genesis, you do need to add, before the set screen pop within the architect, you need to add the get participant data and choose user ID as an attribute. And yeah, that's actually it for me for today. I hope you liked it. We still have a few exciting things to come, so keep listening, and I'm handing back over to you.
Amazing. Thank you, Dilek. Moving on to Generative AI and Knowledge AI, I'm happy to introduce Alex, our product manager here at Cognigy. Alex will walk you through everything from GenAI-powered entity recognition and advanced LLM orchestration features to the new web connector in Knowledge AI. Alex, take it away.
Thank you, New. Hello everyone, my name is Alex. I'm going to tell you about new AI-powered features that we have released this quarter. Let's start with LLM entity extraction. Imagine we're building an insurance bot and we ask for a year of birth. The user can say something like, "My son was born in 2016. In text-based bots, it is very easy to extract year from this phrase. And Cognigy NLU does this automatically. However, it gets more complicated when you're building voice bots. The information can be structured very differently in live conversation. The user can say something like, "My son was born in 2015. No, it's 16. With traditional machine learning, it's easy to extract the number 2015 from this phrase, but getting the correct answer, 2016, requires a different level of understanding. The good news is that we have large language models that can do exactly this kind of reasoning. Let's see how it can be done. In the question node, we've added a new type of question called LLM-extracted entity. When you select this option, you get this new section called LLM entity extraction options. Here you need to specify the information that will help the LLM to understand what exactly you want. I need a year of birth, so I wrote here, year of birth, 4 digits, for example, 2024. Then we need to enter a few examples that show what kind of reasoning is required. You can use these fields to enter example inputs and the respective extracted entities, or scroll down and use this JSON editor. This is more convenient in my opinion. So here I have 4 examples that include 1 exact match and 3 examples that I use to guide the LLM. And let's see how this works. What is the insured person's year of birth? First, let's try just 16. The system does not understand this answer because in the node settings here we described the entity as 4 digits. Okay, let's try again. Remember, on the voice channel, the user can say something like, his birthday is 16, and you can see there are a lot of numbers here, and our transcription can be not perfect, but the LLM is still able to get it right. Impressive. Alright, in addition to this new question type, we have also added a separate node called LLM entity extract. It is almost identical, but it will not repeat the question if the answer does not match the entity description, and it also requires you to specify the key to store the result. So it is basically a building block that allows you to run entity extraction, but doesn't require any interaction with the user. Let's move on and talk about the LLM prompt node. We have added a new option to select the response format and have the node return a JSON object. Being able to produce value JSON is a critical feature for many applications, especially where you need to interact with external systems. Imagine that the user says the following sentence: my flight with Airfly High was delayed by 3 hours, causing me to miss an important meeting. I'm very disappointed. What we might want to have here is a JSON that extracts Airfly High as the airline entity, then identifies the flight delay and missed meeting as events, and captures the negative sentiment towards the service. And if we try to extract this information with the LLM prompt node, we cannot actually be confident that the LLM will return us a valid JSON here. Sometimes LLMs can add things like, sure, here is the JSON that you asked for, followed by a JSON. And you would need to filter out unnecessary information and then parse the JSON, which will require writing some code. And now we have the JSON mode. And with it, you can be confident that the LLM will produce exactly what you asked. And yeah, you can see how it works. All right, finally, let's move on to Knowledge AI. Previously, Cognigy supported PDF, Microsoft Word, and text documents as knowledge sources. Not long ago, we added a new type of knowledge source called web page. Now you can enter URL of a public website, have it automatically parsed and added to Knowledge AI. Let me show you an example. So at first, let's just use the LLM prompt node and see how it answers the following question. Does Knowledge AI in Cognigy support private websites as knowledge sources? And the answer is, yes, Knowledge AI in Cognigy supports private websites. Unfortunately, this is a wrong answer. The GPT 3.5 Turbo model that is used here, it has its knowledge cutoff before we introduced this function, so this is just a hallucination. But let's see how this works with Knowledge AI. Here I have a knowledge store called Cognigy Documentation. I have a knowledge source that uses web page as its type, and this URL here is this page from documentation. So here we have the search extract output node that searches in the Cognigy documentation. And to answer my question, it will only use this information from Knowledge AI, which contains documentation about this new option. And let's ask the same question. Does Knowledge AI in Cognigy support private websites as knowledge sources? And we can see that now the answer is correct. Cognigy Knowledge AI does not support private websites as knowledge sources. So, what does it do under the hood? When indexing a web page, Cognigy launches a headless browser that is run in a secure environment. It opens the website, it executes all the necessary JavaScript. So even if it's a dynamic website, for example, if you have a React application, it will still run all the necessary code, render it, and once the information is loaded, it is ingested into the knowledge store. And this is it. Support for web pages in Knowledge AI. All right. This is all that I wanted to share with you today. Please check out our release notes to learn about other updates that we released this quarter. And of course, subscribe to our blog to learn about new things as soon as we release them. Thank you very much. And Nu, it's back to you.
Thanks, Alex. Really cool stuff. Last but not least, we have Johanna here to talk about the long-awaited Webchat version 3. But there's more. Johanna will also give you an update on the new look of Cognigy Insights. Johanna, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Nu. I'm Joanna Feik. I'm the product manager for the Cognigy.AI main tool and our Insights Analytics tool. And I'm here today to introduce you to the exciting changes that we've made in the last few months. So I'd like to show you the Webchat V3 first, which is something I'm super excited to share with you, and which is also already available in a preview state for you right now. So feel free to use it, and I'm always looking and happy for any feedback that you can provide. But to dive a little bit deeper into what it actually does and what the changes are, I'd like to show you some of the settings that you can now use in your Webchat V3. one of which are our new WebChat layout settings, which allow you to set colors for links, the background, secondary color for the buttons, for example, and also for this automatically calculated background gradient. Right now this is set to a green, but if I set this to this blue tone and give it some time to update, this gradient will automatically be calculated and showing up in the background. This of course allows you to keep everything on brand and good looking. On the other hand, we have something completely new for you, our conversation starter buttons. You can add your conversation starters in the home screen settings in your Webchat V3 endpoint, and you can then set a title, which is what shows up like this for the user here. And you can set 1, 2, 3 of these buttons as you wish. And the user will just see them on the home screen, and it will allow them to immediately start a conversation. It is also a really great way for you to already show some options to them and just ease them into the conversation a little bit more. Then on the other hand, we also have a custom privacy notice now. This means that you can just copy your privacy policy in here, and it will ask the customer to accept the privacy notice before they can engage with the WebChat to make sure that everything aligns perfectly with the GDPR concerns that you might have. Then to show this a little bit in practice and to also show you a little bit more about what this redesign looks like, we can just start right here with a conversation starter and show our flow. And of course, we want to see what the changes look like. So we now have new designs for the galleries, the images, audio and videos, and so on, which is now, of course, in a much more modern and also intuitive design than it was previously. Then on the other hand, of course, we also have now a new section here which shows you the previous conversation, so the conversation history, which allows the user to see any previous conversations that they've had with your AI agent. There are also many other things coming up with Webchat V3, of course. For example, we will also enable native XApp support. And I'm also excited to show you the changes that we've made in our Insights tool in the last few months. As you can see, we opted for a new color theme, which allows us to use the color to highlight the data in itself and opt for a little bit of a modern and lighter color theme all around it. We adapted all the colors here accordingly and sorted out the menu a little bit more to make it easier to differentiate between the dashboards and the explorers. Furthermore, we decided to put all of the filters into one central place. Up until this point, we had filters in a sidebar, but also sometimes on top of the screen. Now they're all in this one filter bar. You have some of them available up here, and you have more filters available in our More Filter pop-up. This applies to all of the dashboards and also explorers. So for example, if we're looking at the Transcript Explorer, we will find Contain Steps, the Flow Selector, and something like Message Count from and to, like we did before, just placed inside of this additional filter bar now. They also work the same way, which means that you can just select what you need and press Apply. If you want to reset all of them, you have one button that allows you to reset all filters at the same point in time and go back to ground zero. Thank you very much, and I'm handing over to you again.
Fantastic, thanks Johanna. Before we conclude, I have two last bonus updates for you. The first one is the ability to migrate locales across AI agent projects. As you know, Cognigy lets you configure multiple locales within an AI agent to localize resources like flows and intents for multiple markets and target audiences. That said, rather than a single multi-locale AI agent, you might prefer having separate AI agents for separate languages for reasons like easier project and access management within the team, or more flexibility in tweaking the flow for a specific market. In that case, most likely you don't want to start again with a blank canvas every single time. Instead, you've already built a master agent with flow and intent templates that you want to replicate everywhere. Now you can easily do so with the ability to export any secondary locale from the master agent using the packages feature and import it as the primary locale in a different agent project. The second bonus update I want to mention is the addition of new global roles dedicated for support purposes. Essentially, these roles give your technical support team all the rights and permissions they need to effectively troubleshoot AI agents without compromising access control on an enterprise level. There are 2 support user roles available depending on the access level together with their project assigner role. The detailed description of these roles is available in our product documentation, so don't forget to check it out. So that's a wrap for today's tech update. A huge shout out to our product managers for their amazing presentations. We hope you enjoyed this session and walked away with useful insights that you can implement into your AI agent project. Just 2 final notes before you go. If you want to stay up to speed on everything that's coming out from Cognigy, I encourage you to check out our product blog. There we have the bi-weekly release highlights, updates on upcoming product webinars, and other useful resources to help you get the most out of Cognigy.AI. And finally, we'd love to hear from you. So if you have just 2 minutes, please share your thoughts about the Tech Update series and what you'd love to see more in the future. The survey will appear immediately after the webinar ends. With that said, thank you everyone for being here today. We can't wait to see you again next time.